They actually loved all those bands. They just looked up.
Awesome. Hey, Matt.
Hey.
All right.
The link, I think the link in the Haibtat is the link to Zoom, and you have the watch link for this, but not the join link.
Yeah, I threw the join link in the CDG or whatever, but I can throw it in whatever. You can throw it in the main channel too. It's fine. We're just limited to up to 10 people.
What's CDG?
That's the list of community folks who are interested in being more maintainery.
What is it? What does it stand for?
I don't remember. You got to ask Ian. He created it. I have no idea.
Probably a chef development group or something like that.
Community, maybe community development.
Yeah.
Dogs. Great.
Sure. All right, so let's see. And, all right. Cool. Let me
In the topic, CDG doesn't stand for anything. So.
Yeah. Does somebody else want to drive this week? Otherwise, I am happy to. But
I love how you drive.
all right, I will get us going here. So, first issue today is going to be number 1721. Export to Docker fails in tutorial.
So the problem is that our docs get updated as soon as we push to master, which is good and bad. Why it's good is because we want the docs to be updated whenever we push. The problem is that we want to make changes with the code also with the docs at the same time. A number of changes that are coming in the next release are now live on the website, and people going through the tutorial are getting burnt because there was breaking changes in the build portion of things. There's checks now in the new version of the software. So this can be closed. There's no way to solve this other than telling the person to view the docs or build off a master. But we definitely need to have stable and then master docs. So that way people working with master can look at the docs and see what's coming down the pipeline, and people that are working with stable can continue to go through the tutorial.
Okay. Is the version, our version docs part of our upcoming site redesign?
Can they be, Tasha?
I mean, I could certainly ask. The only thing I've heard about the site design is that it's on hold for now as far as implementation. So I guess there's probably a way to get some new requirements in there while we're waiting for people to actually build it.
I mean, because we kind of do that. And I think the chef docs they're actually, I think they're looking at revamping those. And maybe it just makes sense to do something similar to what we do for chef docs then. But we do version docs across the rest of chef. Not that that's the best example of docs, but
No,
you
I,
know,
yeah, I actually have a meeting with the entire docs team on Monday, so I can bring this up with them.
awesome. All right. So, you know, let's just.
Also, we could just do it. Like, we don't need a team to do this. Literally, you add a link and you change the build process to push to a different S3 bucket.
Yeah, that we flop to when we. Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's fairly straightforward, we should just put a card on the board and take care of it ourselves because that'll be faster. But I'll bring it up with the docs team just so that they know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. That one's done. And let's move on to number 1717. We can go pretty quick on this one because I just brought it up in stand-up. But just to recap for here, it appears that the real when attempting to accept an invite to an org in the depot running off a master, the ID gets a little changed. In this case, it went from 25 down to 20. I've had this happen. I can replicate this pretty easily. So something we should look into.
Just because JavaScript is garbage and it doesn't understand what an unsigned 64-bit integer is.
Yeah.
I was going to say that in a nicer way. Should probably, but you're correct. It's probably needs to be using a string instead of a number. So it is not bounded by dumb things.
I wonder why that didn't bite us at Schuberg when we stood up there. When we stood up there depot.
If you pulled the existing packages, you wouldn't have seen this.
Oh, I see.
If you pull off a master, if you build off a master, and mine's all built off master because I was testing all those builder API changes, then you see it.
Got it.
So somewhere, somehow, something is slipping, or maybe a new version of a component is getting pulled. I don't know what the problem is, and I don't speak JavaScript very well. So anyway, that's an issue out there. Won't be important until we get closer to standard, wanting to refresh builder API code. All right, number 1711, supervisor member reincarnation handling issue.
I think this is a real potential bug that we need to investigate. However, supervisors always come back up with a wrong GUID. They don't come back from the dead. That's a known deficiency in the supervisor runtime right now. But Julian's issue might be an actual timing thing with killing a peer when they're about to enter a quorum. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think this is a real bug that we need to fix.
All right. And we have 1705. bug, Studio RM. We talked about this one last time, and I believe Fletcher, you were going to follow up with them on this. Was there anything to add to this, or?
Yeah, the terrible part is I watched it happen, sitting with Martin, and it happened to me once, at least once, in Amsterdam. I think what's going on is if you make, say, make a studio in like some parent directory, and then either inside that make another studio, or make another studio context in a subdirectory. When you call studio RM with a pre-existing studio, it's gonna like actually try and remove the /source bind mount before. Anyways, I think it's a parent directory thing. So I think the fix is when we call studio RM, we want to make sure that if there's any studio instances inside or that are child directories, to like remove those as well. Or we just need to think a little more about subdirectories. I think that's, yeah. I almost lost some work from this as well, and we sure as heck shouldn't be doing it.
Okay.
Interesting. So you have nested studios?
Yeah, well, I was doing some work that it was on Studio itself. So I had like made a studio, and then I'm like, I'll build the studio software, and then I'll just, you know, use that and go in. And then I forgot to remove the inner one, and then I think I removed the outer one. But because they were both mounting the same directory, it was like bind mounted twice in. I think that's what happened. Is the outer studio RM completely called RM on /source on the inner one, which was actually the bind mounted outside. I think that's what's going on. The other thing that we had in common is we're both using Linux natively on our workstation, like as a workstation.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is totally something that deserves at least a fix to hopefully make that better, or to
Some validation in there that we're not deleting stuff
Yeah.
that doesn't need to.
Yes. Like it might be checking the mount table to make sure that what you're about to unmount at the end, there's nothing left that's under that directory or something like that. I think that's what's going on, but it's not good.
Okay. Next up then, 1703, support build packs for specific languages. I don't think there's any I don't think there's any disagreement here. We want to do some similar kind of have some similar capabilities. However, I think we should close this out because it's just going to sit there until we actually do something about it, and it's something that's we can let know it's on our radar.
Yeah, I would say that this is definitely on the roadmap. Timing is up for debate, and it's probably not the right thing for a GitHub issue.
All right. So it's you know, we definitely want that type of feature. No particular timeline. If somebody wants to help with this, you know, we're definitely open to that around a specific concept, but it might be hold off on that for the time being until we've done some experimentation and thinking about the experience. Okay. So next up, 1701, document the difference, Hab package build, Hab studio enter. I somehow think this is a Fletcher was following up on this one again. Yep.
Yeah, this was related to a pre. Oh, there's the follow up that he linked to, which was changing the default behavior of Hab package build, and I think I explained to him that like the intent for that command is to do like a clean build from nothing. And I think he's on side. We just probably need to make that a bit clearer in the CLI docs. So exactly, yeah.
So
I think any human being could easily do that, and we can definitely help.
Yep. Cool. Okay. And help one, it doesn't mean we can't do it. It just means that it's not immediately on our radar. So we are up to 1641. Service should be set to uninitialized after an update occurs.
I still need to have this conversation with Adam.
Yeah.
I still think it's wrong. The synopsis of this from last week is init only gets run once ever, which is when the supervisor turns on. And then anytime you turn the supervisor off and then back on, but it never gets run when the service updates, which means that the init hook needs to be idempotent, but we don't care the next time it updates. So like it already needs to be idempotent, so why not run it anyway? Which then creates a gap that you wouldn't expect in the life cycle of the application, where it runs conditionally and you would maybe expect it to run always, which then means that this is a dangerous hook to use. So we should have that conversation with Adam again. I just leave it for now.
Okay. So then we have 1610. How can configuration files be written to arbitrary locations in the tree?
Yeah, well, don't do that unless your application really says you have to, because your package is supposed to be immutable, and if you start sticking files in it, then it's different. So make a symlink. If it has to be read from inside the package prefix, then make symlink in there. Otherwise, don't do that.
This is one of the reasons that we created that static service path, I believe, is I think what we call static is more of an aspiration than an actual thing. Like you're pretty sure stuff's not going to change, but it turns out your app is kind of dumb, and you've got a mutable config file that needs to go in the code base that you've asserted doesn't change. So like we don't want to scribble into the package path. So maybe the best thing you should do is like copy it into static and let your app run wild in there. So yeah, that could be a way out. I'm wondering if like part of this is maybe just a documentation tweak.
Yeah, I think
our reasoning behind this.
Well, I think part of this is the person doesn't know about Hab services. That's where that stuff gets expanded out to.
Right.
Can I have a volunteer to update and close out this issue? Because it's really more of a comment or a question, and we should probably refer them to either Discourse or the Slack for questions like this.
Boy, redirection to Discourse is a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just looking at, I know we have a snippet for this that I believe we have I'm looking.
Like they would have already had an answer, I think, if they'd asked them Habislack.
Right. Yeah. It's.
Yeah, we must have a snippet to direct questions. The issue tracker is not for questions, basically. And that's why this would sit for as long as it has.
Yeah. All right. So. Yeah. It was right around the time we started doing this. I thought I pinned it in our channel, but I guess I didn't. So if somebody wouldn't mind volunteering to write a little bit of words to that effect in this issue, then we can move on to the next.
I can do that.
Thanks, Matt. Oh, didn't mean to stop screen sharing. Okay. All right, number 1606, have soup as PID1 in Docker container.
This is a little hard to tell by the words. We are aspiring to do exactly this, but perhaps it's not working exactly right. The supervisor does do a process that tries to reap, parentless processes, so that should work in Docker, but it might not be totally right. It's just unclear if that's a question or if he's actually seeing the wrong behavior, or this person's seeing the wrong behavior.
My guess is it's probably an ESL. No, that person might not be as comfortable with English.
That's possible.
So.
And should do child raping. So yeah, I guess I would say, yeah, it should do child raping. We have code for that. It just, maybe it's not working right.
So,
I can ask a question to see, do you have an example you could provide? Basically, can we repro this or not?
Yeah.
Because it could actually be just a question.
Yep. Ask for a repro, and then otherwise we can close it out. But okay, then 1604. Install not finding keys in Habcache key path.
One of Nathan's problems.
That's because so the reason that I think is the keys are in his user profile, but you have to install as root, so it doesn't load from his. It's looking in Habcache keys rather than.
Yeah, and the supervisor is not going to look in like your user's key path.
No.
I think I have a strategy. There's like 2 small tweaks to the way package build in the studio could work that would solve his problem in an entirely different way that doesn't involve that environment variable.
Yeah.
This is kind of, I think, when he's demoing on like Linux VM for the workshops and stuff. And we could make that user experience a little bit better, because the amount of time this environment variable needs to be used is probably a good sign that we don't have something quite right.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably make sense to look in the local, if you're running under sudo, look in the local users cache for us, not just for the signing key, but for the public keys, that you can copy it into had keys, like we do from pull it down from the depot.
So what I'd like to do is have the studio, when you enter a studio and it copies your private key in, is try to also copy your public key in, so that when the package is finished, it could drop off a copy of that public key in results, just right alongside the heart, and have one more check on install when you're doing it from a file path, and it needs a key, is look and see in the directory that you gave me, do I happen to have your public key, if I don't already have it, before I go and check the depot. because I think what's happening is if you don't happen to have that public key uploaded, you have this problem. And Nell's had this. She was asking like a week or two ago. It would kind of work around this problem, I think, is the installer would actually find the key, put it in the right place, and you'd never have to know where your public key was coming from.
Yeah, I've got a slightly different suggestion, but we don't need to. We can banter that around later, rather than copying the pub key all around. But yeah, had cache keys should not necessarily be the environment variable shouldn't be the solution to this. So let's see, what was yeah. So it's install the finding. That the direct installing local heart files even when so the public key isn't respecting that, but the signing key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, like, Nell had a similar problem because
Yeah.
she hadn't uploaded a public key.
Yeah.
Depot. And this is it's a little silly that that's required. We do a few things a little more aggressively than we really need to, but
Yeah. Okay.
so we may be able to provide a workaround like within this constraints, but I think there might be an alternative workflow that tweaking a couple things, a future person would never even think about this.
Yep. All right. So we want to call this a.
We have clusterfuck as a label. I feel bad for Nathan on this one because it's.
We'll call it a bug.
Yeah.
And we should fix this. Not necessarily. All right. Moving right along, we have 1579 RFC, a mechanism to declare runtime environment variables at build time. That's a mouthful of words. What does it mean?
So I may have been, this might have come from around the time of our hack day, our internal hack day, because I think I was in a Zoom session to hear a little bit about this.
Yeah, you and I had discussions about this as well, Fletcher.
Yeah, it's very related, right?
In the Netherlands. And we need to provide this. The word exports is now taken. It exports now stands for publicly available configuration, alias to some key. And we definitely, though, need this to even make the idea of whatever we call build packs happen. We need to be able to export or preset some sort of
set environment. Yeah.
This is definitely something we need to add.
Yep.
So yeah, this is at least, yeah, this is going to happen.
So feature. ML. And we'll throw help wanted because it's probably not immediate. Now, like the have package path thing, that's actually solved.
In a hook, yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah, we're chipping away at this problem.
okay. And 1572, mechanism to validate the application version running on the service group nodes.
We might actually have this solved. Jamie might need to confirm that, but I think we're much better on this now.
Yes. If the service group is running with the rolling update strategy enabled, this fixes it. If you do not have rolling update enabled, it means that you're not explicitly trying to manage everybody's version and have them in the same lockstep.
Right.
But this is fixed and will function in rolling update.
So, yeah, without rolling update, should we be able to lock in and say only the same version can join together? Can it join the ring with the different version for service group?
I don't think that we could possibly do it. One of the reasons is at once. The way that works is as soon as you see an update available, you go ahead and grab it. Just the nature of that means that you have nodes updating out of order. The only way that we can achieve this is by electing an update leader, and the only update strategy that we have right now is rolling update that does that. There's only two update strategies. I guess there's none at once and rolling update. Yeah, we couldn't possibly do it for at once.
Well, we turn at once into a simplified leader follower just by virtue that we'd want a little bit of quorum. So yeah, I think it's okay to say that like these are some of the trade-offs that you make with at once, and then that could work really good for a bunch of stateless apps.
Yeah.
That like maybe you do need new versions coming in. So it could be a good tool for some people. I have a feeling this is probably coming out of the GE work that we did. That I think we had on like a Trello board, and Slim probably put it in here. So I think this is to address like problems that GE had, and I think we tell them, well, we'll use rolling update, and then that solves your problem.
I have an assumption that I'm waiting to be confirmed is that as we add tunables to rolling update, it becomes the only way that people update their software. You either have none or rolling. Yeah,
because everything is a variant of rolling, right? It's how quickly do you spin out that? Yeah. Yep. Just like everything's a variation on leader follower. Yeah, all clustering is leader follower. All right, so we've got that done. 1571, consider providing a way to expose different runtime ports. And I think
we're pretty much addressing that right now, aren't we?
Yeah, so let's grab links to those PRs.
Yeah, I think fixed too.
I think this predated us really understanding that we never shared that in the first place. Other than maybe the package expose, which is a lie.
Yeah. Let's see. There's.
Well, that's bonus that we're already addressing stuff from the last, like, 2 engagements ago.
Link. All right, those are the 3 that are relevant. And closing out another GE related one. Let's see where. What was I here? Oh, no, that's what I want. Here we go. All right, what's next from Salim? 1570, documentation for the HAB security model. So this is something we still need to do.
I think these docs exist.
We do have minimal docs at a minimum. I'm sure we do.
There's a section on encryption in the supervisor, but I think that stuff is all pre-butterfly and doesn't really just. Let's see here. Not much there. Let's see, Haibtat internals. There's a bit about the cryptography.
It's package signing.
Oh, that's not what I expected to see.
This is it. This is the message encryption. This is.
Oh,
that's.
Guess we're not spelling that well enough.
And then supervisor, information security.
Yeah, we probably need more then.
Yeah. So yes, we need documentation. Oh, we got the documentation there, and we'll take it from whoever wants to do it. And we need to document best practices for the depths of, to determine the depths of packages. And this is issue 1564. What hat package you need? Not sure what. Did we lose Fletcher? All right, so I'm not sure what Slim means by this, and it probably came off that Trello board.
Maybe let's just ask him in the channel.
Yeah. I'll drop him a little note.
Also, the GE team reached out yesterday, and they want to get together and talk about the status of the supervisor and work that we've done since we were on site with them. So I'll probably try and set that up this week or next week.
Okay, awesome.
It'd be great if we could do that next week.
Yeah, good call.
Okay. Let's go on. We'll leave that one for now. I asked Salim if he could flesh that out any. And then $1563, have planted it, create a run hook by default.
I pretty much still vote no on this.
Yeah. I agree, because there's a way to create the run hook by default in the plan.
That's exactly right. And I think we want to control that magic for more people than we want to give them like the raw underlying file to then go hack on when they shouldn't need to.
Yeah, I agree. Init should be a do what I mean command, and we should try our best to figure out exactly what needs to be done, and not giving people a giant mess of things to sort through what they need to do. Not that this is a giant mess. This is just one one step down the path to madness here.
Yeah, my guess as to what he's getting at here is discoverability. Like, especially if you're writing plans for services, how do you discover that you write, that you need to write this document? But yeah, I mean, if you're, I mean, everybody who writes, I think, has an experience of writing different types of plans. Like, for example, myself, lately, I've been writing lots of like library-ish plans, which you would never need either a run or an init hook, and then it's just extra baggage that you have to throw away.
I've tried planning it a few times, and yeah, when it tends to be the library stuff, which mind you isn't the common one, yeah, I feel like I got to delete a bunch of crap now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it gives you a lot of stuff to get you started, especially when you're not familiar with creating the plan from scratch. So
yeah, it's not optimized for people like me, I'm pretty sure.
But it doesn't give you more than what you need. So,
and chances are, if you're creating lots of plans, you're probably not using plan init. Is my guess.
Yeah. So 1562, document all of the runtime config values. Yeah, we should have that.
So I'm pretty sure we are missing a big section, I think, in the docs. I remember looking in Amsterdam for it wasn't sys, it might have been configure. It was one, and like it wasn't there, but that was probably before we realized, oh yeah, we were never sharing it in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think we document this really anywhere.
It's possible it might be a bit more documented now because we're kind of closing out some work related to this.
Yeah, we document how we use the helpers and how you map a bind name to a to a group, to a service group, but that's about it, at least that I've seen. So yeah, we should totally do more of that. Especially as we start to show the supervisor as the central thing more. This is kind of one of like the, oh my God, all the magic can just happen things, right? All right. Feature request, provide a hook for service member change. 1561. I swear I just saw something like a PR about this or something. Or maybe it was the cards. It was in our cards of things to do. Jamie, aren't you working on something somewhat like this?
I'm working on a different a hook, but not that hook.
Okay.
I'm working on smoke test.
Oh yeah, smoke test, and then
Yeah, which is a little bit more complicated. This is pretty easy to implement.
Yeah.
One day we should sketch out the there's like a difference between the events. Like there's a reconfigure event for sure. We just don't have a corresponding hook, and not every event necessarily has a hook, and not every hook has a corresponding event. Like it might be fired in multiple events. So one day I'd love to see a diagram with that.
Yeah, we need a diagram of the life cycle map.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we just have a like 6 or 7 hooks, but basically we need to tie all the life cycle events to a hook so you can hook into them. And then the word events or actions is something a little bit different, and that's a hidden feature there that we can talk about another time.
yeah, because when a new node would join, it's gonna or join or leave. That reconfigure can happen, and so that would probably be the appropriate time for this thing. Okay. Oh, all right. How are we doing on time? Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes. And next up is 1560, Peer 1 strategy. I believe we have another issue for this. This is a dupe of something. Let me find it. So then we have like a first peer. Yeah, it's a dupe of 1849. Okay, 1559. Need to document pattern for wrapper packages. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we need to provide something here. If it's documentation or if it's explicit type of plan, I'm not sure.
So I have been pointing people to our API proxy package, which is it's just an Nginx config that depends on Nginx to show a way that you can like use another piece of software, provide your own config. Yeah, a section somewhere in docs that even just point to one or two of those or shows an example is probably better than we have right now. I think we literally just discovered this pattern like the last few months anyways. I think we did it without totally realizing it.
Yeah. Well, and with that customer engagement as well.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time building those. All right. Config updates can cause an outage if all the nodes are getting updated at once. 1558. So if through a config apply, a bunch of nodes get reconfigured, terminate or restarts the processes, that can cause an outage. That was the scenario. So I think the request here was for something like the rolling update strategy, but for config changes.
Yeah, that sounds about right from what I remember.
I think it's viable that we would want that, even though what you really want to tell people is to not kill a process when it gets when it receives a configuration update. But that's not That's not how all software is written, you know?
Yeah, and part of that is exposing that reconfigure hook better and highlighting that. So for software that can get have its configuration applied via an API, or that watches its config file on its own, we can control that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a feature that we probably need to add.
Are you muted on purpose?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. I actually would say I think this is fixed now. But do you recall, Fletcher?
I remember we kind of started looking at this like a little pairing, but we never finished it out because it was not as easy as it could have been.
Okay, so this is still a bug.
Yes, if you run habstart and provide a URL, that should be like passed on to the supervisor, but it wasn't. And I don't entirely remember why, but I do remember that we did see that on site. So
Okay. So yeah, this is something we should fix. One thing I noticed with URL and update strategies is you can't run your depot with itself as the update source because it will never start. Yeah, because your update strategy reaches out to connect to the depot, but the depot's not running yet because you're trying to start the depot.
huh.
So you have
And
to
it's a hard fail right now?
Yeah, the process won't start because the update stuff's checked first.
Oh, that's cute. Right.
Because it checks to see if there's anything new first, and then yeah. So all right, then we shall move along to 1548. Gateway API does not return health check output.
Let me see if I had fixed this already.
Okay.
Okay, the way that I fixed it was I removed the string finished. So.
Oh, right. It was hard coded.
All done. Actually, the correct response to this is we need to decide if any output from the health check should be piped through, and I don't think it should. The reason there is we can't store the entire output of a package in memory. We can only stream it to a file, and we could stream that out over the gateway.
What about the metrics endpoint? We could leverage that.
What do you mean the metric? Like,
There's a metrics endpoint now.
yeah, but that doesn't have we just can't store the strings of a process, a random process's output in memory.
Yeah.
That could be really bad for us.
Yeah.
If this is something that we actually need, what this would be instead is you reading the contents of a log file. We can only pipe and store that to a log file.
Yeah, so this is probably more than of a then you're kind of functioning more as like a log stash endpoint. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we should close. This isn't easy, even though I marked it as easy.
Yeah.
I implemented the health check hooks initially and forgot why finished was ever there. And now I remembered was because I was storing output from a process, and I was like, you can't do that, which is what I just explained. So I think we should close this as not fix. Won't fix, actually.
Okay.
The correct thing to do is check the output. Like the health check endpoint is designed so that way other tools can get an idea of what happened. And then if you want to see the output of what your hook, like why it failed, then you need to check some sort of logging mechanism. And right now, Habitat has nothing in its scope to do log aggregation.
Yep, it's fair enough to say it's out of scope.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Fletcher, Tasha, Matt?
Yeah, I think the best we could do if somebody absolutely needed it, I suspect is you just dump the last health check output to a file, and all that endpoint does is it streams junk back. But you don't get n-1. You just get last.
Yeah,
because we have unbounded output and like storage on disk as well.
Yeah, that's my best way to compromise. But I don't know how valuable even that information is. Like, I wish I knew who the customer was for this, because I don't think it's Salim.
No, it's got to be GE because it's December 9th.
Yeah.
Maybe it's worth asking them why they wanted that. But we should close this for now and then follow up with them, ask them why they wanted it. Since you're going to re-engage with them, right, Tasha?
Yeah, I just reached out to them and asked when they were available next week.
Cool. Let's remember that we got to ask them about what they wanted this for.
They were going to create a sensor check that would pull the health endpoint. And then that would just be their standard thing for everything that they would deploy with Habitat. And rather than having to have a custom check per application, they'd have a custom check to talk to the health endpoint.
Yeah, I see. And then Sensu would pull that back, so it would use that output.
Yeah, I've never seen the recent version of Sensu, so I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
We can easily write it to a log file and stream it out. So it's either one of these. It's either not going to do it or that.
I would if it's going to be that, I would. I'm mixed on it because I think I like the idea that you talk to Habitat as the one endpoint for talking to your application, but yeah, I don't know. So I'll put those options in the bug here.
Yeah, let's not close it, but let's say those are the two options. Either we can't, or we write it to a log, and the log is something that comes through the HTTP response.
Yeah, right now we're failing safe really for the users, like making sure the supervisor doesn't crash itself from potential bad behavior.
Okay. And of course, with any of these, feel free to jump in and weigh in if anything I've typed or somebody else's isn't an adequate summary of our thoughts. But we have gone over time by about 2 minutes, so I think it's a good place to call it. Let's see where. We went through 19 issues today. That's good. So thank you all for your help in taking a look at and at least getting some responses and review on the issues in our project. And I'm going to stop the broadcast now.